Hello everybody, my name is Karryshh and welcome back to another recap video. This time it's not a Japanese horror, it's a latest Indonesian horror, Forbidden Camp Mass Possession, and it is based on a real story. Actually, what happened is that in 2016, a large group of students got possessed in a village in Indonesia. The reason is still unknown and the movie is based on that, so you might like this one, so stick around till end. On top of that, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up because it is free for you and is something that keeps me motivated to bring more of these recaps. And with that said, sit back and relax as I recap Forbidden Camp Mass Possession. The story begins by stating that the names of the characters and location in this movie have been changed. Now, in 2024, a reporter named Vayu is interviewing a guy named Miko. Back in 2016, Miko was a scout leader and had taken his school scout team on a trip where some strange events occurred. Over the years, a lot of wild rumors have spread about what happened, and that's why Vayu is interviewing Miko. He wants to write a book about it. Vayu also has photos from the camping trip, including one girl named Rini who had asthma. Miko starts telling the story and we're taken back to 2016. We see Rin and her friend Nay. Rin was fragile cause of her asthma and everyone treated her differently, which she didn't like. We also find out that in a few days, Rin, Nay and their entire class would be heading to a jungle for their scouting trip. After this, we see three guys, Haru, Chan and Miko, and these three were one of the scout team leaders. Their job was to find a suitable campsite, but every place was already booked, and eventually Haru brought them to this spot called Vana Alus. The problem was the place was managed by a priest-like man named Santo, who immediately refused to let them camp there, saying that the site was dangerous, but the guys were desperate. It was only for 3 days and they had no other options. After some convincing, they got Santo to agree, though he insisted on performing some kind of ritual before the kids arrived. The next day, Miko and Chan gathered the class and briefed them about the campsite. There was one particular area that Santo had strictly forbidden them from entering. Meanwhile, Nay did some research and found out that back in 2004, a lot of kids at this particular campsite had gotten possessed and some even went missing. But Rin dismissed it, telling Nay to not pay attention to superstitions. The whole class starts prepping for the trip, packing their things, and during this time, we're also introduced to Lydia, another scout leader. Before school ends for the day, the class rehearses a play they're supposed to perform in a few weeks. The story of the play goes like this. A long time ago, there was a prince named Radin, and his father was a guy named Prabhu. In the story, Radin was given two choices by his father. He could either become the next king or marry his lover, Roro Putri, but he couldn't have both. In the end, Radin chose power and unalived Roro Putri so he could take the throne. In the play, a girl named Kiki was playing Roro Putri, but during the scene where Roro gets murdered, Kiki suddenly gets a nosebleeds and she faints. She was rushed to the medical room and the rehearsal was cancelled. After this, Haru gets worried because the performance date is getting close, and if Kiki can't play Roro Putri, it will be a problem. So he starts looking for a backup plan. That's when he notices Rin. Now Rin loved the character of Roro Putri, so Haru decides to have her as a backup in case Kiki isn't able to perform. Rin hesitates cause of her asthma, but Nay encourages her, and in the end, Rin agrees to be the backup plan. Later that day, when Rin was going home, Miko shows up, but Rin feels like Miko also sees her as weak cause of her disease, even though that was not the case. And then the next day, Santo calls the scout leaders to the campsite. He takes them straight to the area he had strictly forbidden them from entering. There, he starts chanting some mantras and buries an offering in the ground. He tells Miko that the offering is meant for the spirits that wander in the woods. Then Santo buries a separate offering for each student and warns them that no one is allowed to come near this place and under no circumstances should they dig up these offerings. After the offerings are made, everyone goes to sleep, but later that night, Miko suddenly wakes up to strange noises coming from the woods. He goes to check the voices out, and then an invisible force starts messing with him, scaring him, and just then, Santo appears and reassures him that the woods are now safe. He says that the spirit have accepted their offering, so everyone can enter the jungle tomorrow. However, a little while later, we see a boy digging up one of the offerings. He also scatters yellow-colored rice over the hole and then spreads more rice on the ground before covering it back up. But soon, the rice gets blown away by the wind. Something was definitely off here. The next day, the entire scout team arrives at the cursed campsite, and during their journey, Rin's condition starts worsening, but Ney helps her. As they continue walking over a bridge, Rin feels a strange presence, but she ignores it for now. Once they reach the campsite, everyone starts setting up their tents, and then when everything was settled, the group officially welcomes the students and they all gather for prayers. While they were praying, Rin suddenly sees a ghostly girl standing right in front of her, and out of fear, she falls to the ground. Scared, Rin runs away and hides in a tent, and she also tells Ney that this place might be haunted because she's been getting bad vibes since she arrived here. Just then, Kiki and her group show up. Kiki has brought Rin a Roro Putri costume, but in reality she's jealous of Rin because she sees her as a threat to her role. And meanwhile Lydia heads to the forbidden area to put up a warning poster. But when she gets there, she notices a tent which obviously shouldn't be put up there. She walks up to it and checks inside, but when she steps out, the atmosphere around her suddenly turns dark and demonic. Panicking, she grabs her walkie-talkie and calls Miko for help, but just then, through the walkie-talkie, a distorted voice whispers and tells her to run away, but they were not supposed to be there. Then a creepy song starts playing and Lydia was terrified, but within moments, everything returns to normal. And back at the campsite, Rin hears the same eerie song inside her tent. When she looks inside, there was a girl in there, but in a blink of an eye, she vanishes in an instant. Back on Lydia, who ran into Miko and tells him everything. She was convinced that the place is haunted and she insists that they should leave, but Miko calms her down and sends her back to the campsite while he decides to go and check the forbidden area himself. When he gets there, he finds Lydia's belongings, but everything else seems normal. After that, Miko starts spreading those same yellow rice around, which makes us viewers think that maybe he was the one who dug up the offering that night and scattered the rice, but the truth will come out later. Just then, a black snake appears in front of Miko and attacks him. He panics and he slashes its neck with a knife to save himself, but as soon as he does that, the snake disappears, leaving him shaken. Now back at the campsite, the scout team events have started, and in every single event, Rin's team keeps losing to Kiki's team, mostly because Rin has asthma. Of course, this makes Rin feel awful about her, but everyone keeps reassuring her that they'll at least win one game sooner or later. In the middle of those events, Rin goes to wash her face when Kiki and her gang show up. They start talking badly about Rin, so she hides. And now with their conversation, we find out that Kiki is on her period, which has made her a little weak. But in her mind, she's still 100 times better than Rin. She also says something cruel, that a guy like Miko would never date someone like Rin, which really gets to her. Before leaving, Kiki carelessly throws her used pad outside the trash can, which according to Indonesian culture is something you should never do because it can attract spirits. Once Kiki leaves, Rin steps out, but suddenly she hears a girl crying from inside a bathroom. When she checks, there was no one there and she freaks out, but she then catches a glimpse of a girl's reflection in the the mirror, meaning a spirit has latched onto her. Then out of nowhere, a beautiful ring drops right in front of Rin. As soon as she picks it up, a snake bites her hand and slithers away. And obviously, Rin was terrified, so she ran for her life. She goes back to the campsite where the next event was a relay race. And even though Rin was scared, something happens to her and she suddenly outruns everyone and in the end won the game. Everyone was shocked. But later, Chan, who had taken photos of the race, notices something disturbing. There was a dark figure captured right behind Rin in the picture. He gets scared but doesn't tell anyone because honestly, he and few others already knew that this place is haunted and they don't want everyone to panic. Meanwhile, Lydia, she kept on telling people about what she saw in the forbidden area but no one was believing her. She repeatedly tries to warn Chan, a girl named Fen, and Miko, but Miko brushes her off and give her some vitamins to take and leave. After this, Miko goes to talk to Haru and he tells him that he killed a snake but it just vanished. That's when we find out that Haru was the one who gave Miko the yellow rice because according to him, yellow rice is used to ward off spirits. Haru reassures Miko that nothing is wrong and sends him back, but once Miko leaves, Haru pulls out some old papers from his bag. He goes to the forbidden area and starts chanting some mantras, but then yellow rice starts pouring out of his mouth, meaning whatever is in that forbidden place is beyond evil. And Haru, he knew that very well. The scene shifts to another scout event which was led by a guy named Mada. In this event, he has to use sign language to communicate during the activity, but right in the middle of it, he suddenly gets violently possessed. His voice turns eerie as he starts saying that she is coming back for revenge and that the rivers will be filled with blood. Obviously, this makes everyone horrified and then Mada falls off the bridge. His head smashes directly onto a rock and blood starts pouring everywhere. The whole class started screaming and some people rushed to help him, but before they can reach him, Mada regains consciousness only to start smashing his head against the rock over and over again until he passes out. Then Haru arrives there and with everyone's help, they take Mada to a safe place. But even then, Mada was still possessed and Haru pulls out his mantra pages, but instead of reacting in pain, Mada starts laughing, saying that his mantras are just too weak. Now when all of this was happening, Rin sees that same girl again. Slowly the girl gets closer and closer until she suddenly appears onto Rin's lap. Terrified, Rin bolts out of there and runs straight to her tent. But even in the tent, Rin was unsafe. The girl's spirit appears outside and starts singing a creepy song. And since Rin was helpless, she hides inside her sleeping bag hoping that the spirit wouldn't find her. But then the spirit slips inside the sleeping bag with her and that's when Rin screamed her lungs out. Now we see Miko and Chan and they rush to Santo and tell him that Mada is possessed. At this point, Mada was starting to calm down a little, but then something happens to Kiki. She suddenly starts laughing in this eerie, unhinged way, like she's completely lost her mind. Haru tries to exorcise her, but before he can do anything, everyone freezes because now Rin has arrived and now she was possessed too. Here, possessed Rin turns to Kiki and asks why is she crying, and just like that, Kiki actually starts crying. She falls to her knees and begs Rin for mercy and asking for forgiveness over and over again. Luckily, Santo arrives and he had brought some kind of special smoke. The moment the smoke enters their body, all the possessed people collapse and fell unconscious. They take everyone to the medical room where Santo begins a proper exorcism. But then, something really strange happens. Mada, Rin and Kiki all wake up at the same time. Mada locks eye with Rin and starts screaming at her, demanding to know how she dares to return to this place and threatening to to have her unalived. However, possessed Rin fires back and she says that she's not afraid, and this time she's back for her revenge. Meanwhile, Kiki keeps begging Rin to spare her life and show her mercy. Basically, three spirits have possessed three different people, and it was clear that these spirits had some kind of connection in the past. Now, through their host bodies, they were replaying their story. In the end, Santo chants a mantra and manages to suppress the possessions. Then he tells Heru that these three possessed students need to be sent back to the city immediately. Upon this command, some people start preparing to leave, but that's when a horrific revelation comes to face. Actually, you see, the bridge leading out of the village was destroyed somehow, and this means that they're trapped there. However, even after this, Santo reassures Heru and Miko that he will have the villagers build a new bridge in a few days. But for now, he makes one thing absolutely clear. No one is allowed to do anything anymore related to scout activities. The scene shifts to Heru, who enters the medical room and starts chanting some spells over Mada. He places a handful of yellow rice on him, and soon the spirit possessed in Mada awakens, and that spirit was actually a king. He then asks the king for something called Maku Toromo gem, and this is where it finally clicks us viewers. It is now apparent that Heru is the villain of this whole story. And maybe this entire camping trip was his plan all along. How exactly will be revealed later. The king's spirit then tells Heru that Maku Toromo gem has already been found. One of the kids has it. Now if Heru wants to claim it, he'll have to find it by himself. Back at the campsite during dinner, Rin was still acting possessed, which has everyone on edge. Nei was worried about her friend, and she approaches Miko, Shan, and Heru, and she suggests that they should stop all activities for now. But according to Heru, everything is fine. He insists that they will continue their scouting event by midnight, which was definitely suspicious. Meanwhile, Lydia tries to talk to Rin, but Rin started speaking nonsense. Suddenly, Lydia vomits a disgusting mess filled with worms. And then, just like that, she gets possessed too. Lydia begins creepily dancing in front of Rin, repeatedly begging for forgiveness just like Kiki. Then out of nowhere, Lydia starts slamming her head into the ground again and again in front of Rin. Heru immediately steps in and stops her, and he snaps Lydia out of it. But when she wakes up, she has no memory of what just happened. Heru immediately sends Lydia to the medical room and then gathers the rest of the kids and tells them to be ready at midnight, because tonight he's going to test their courage. Everyone goes to bed, but later that night, Nei wakes up to use the bathroom. As she gets up, she sees possessed Rin staring at her in the creepiest way. Nei brushes it off and heads to the washroom, but deep down, she has already figured out something important. She had noticed when Mada was possessed, he was acting exactly like the king from their play, the man who had Roro Putri killed by his own son. In other words, the play the school kids have been preparing for, it was possible that the real-life characters from that story actually lived in this very village centuries ago. Just then, a huge, thick snake appears behind Nei, making her freeze in terror and fall to the ground. The snake starts slithering towards her, but suddenly Rin shows up, and to Nei's horror, Rin simply raises her hand and the snake retreats. It was obviously shocking, but then Rin speaks to Nei and she tells her that if a place is filled with so many snakes, it means the deity Sapto rules over that place. This is why humans were never meant to be here, but now too many have come, and among them, one has evil intentions. After saying this, Rin just turns away and walks back in silence. Meanwhile, Heru convinced the other scout leader to go ahead with the midnight courage test, even without Santo's permission. It was obviously a bad idea, but to ensure some protection for the kids, Miko spreads yellow rice around the forest perimeter, and then at midnight, everyone gathers for the test. Once the instructions were given, the test begins. again. The kids have to hold on to a rope and walk through the forest blindfolded. Chan is leading Rin's group, and after a while, he starts hearing strange noises. When he looks around, he freezes in horror because right in front of him was a ghostly soldier. This scared Chan so much that he grabs his teammates and runs. But because everyone was blindfolded, no one noticed that Rin wasn't with them anymore. She was still standing there, and now she has the ring on her finger, the one that holds Maku Toromo gem. Then suddenly, dark forces pull Rin into another realm, and when she regains consciousness, she finds herself surrounded by terrifying spirits, making her soul tremble in fear. Back in the forest, when Chan finally stops running with his team, they all realize Rin is missing. He immediately alerts the other groups, and everyone sets out to search for her. While looking, Nate trips and her flashlight goes out. Suddenly, paranormal activity starts happening around her, and then a horrifying spirit appears right in front of her and lunges at her. Nay screams in terror, and meanwhile Chan stumbles upon the forbidden place. There what he sees leaves him stunned. He spots Heru chanting incantations, and a huge massive snake was wrapping his body. This is where Chan realizes something sinister is going on. He rushes back and he tells Miko what he saw, but before they can process it, they hear Nay scream. Actually, you see, Nay is now possessed, and the spirit inside her is screaming the same thing over and over again. Where is my shroud? Where is my shroud? Where is my shroud? Meaning the spirit wants to return to its burial cloth. To calm the spirit down, the others wrap Nay in a cloth like a corpse, hoping that it will satisfy the spirit, and it works too. Nay starts settling down, but then, one by one, more and more students start getting possessed. Chaos erupts everywhere. The spirit of the king, still inside Mada, grabs a knife and charges at Miko, but just in time Santo arrives and manages to subdue Mada. One by one, Santo quickly calms all the possessed students and scolds Miko for letting him do these activities despite his warnings. Meanwhile, in the other realm, the spirit of the soldiers finally releases Rin. She runs and hides behind a tree and desperately tries to remove the ring from her finger, but it was stuck. Then, the spirit of the girl appears in front of her, and she now tells her that someone is trying to steal the ring. Back in the real world, Santo spends the entire morning exorcising the spirits from the students' bodies. But in the end, the spirit inside Nay goes berserk. Nay claws at her own face violently and she injured herself badly. Meanwhile, in the other realm, the spirit of the girl finally starts explaining who she is. She reveals that she is Roro Putri, confirming that this village is the same one where the kids' play was originally set. Roro Putri tells Rin that she has been hiding in this realm so the soldiers won't catch her, because she has the power to destroy their king's spirit and take revenge. Afterward, Chan takes Santo to the forbidden area and tells him that last night he saw Heru performing some kind of ritual there. Santo then notices that someone has dug up old offerings, and he also sees the yellow rice. This is where it is revealed that the yellow rice is actually dangerous, because according to Santo, this yellow rice doesn't repel spirit, it attracts him, meaning Heru had lied to everyone about its purpose all along. Meanwhile, Miko is still searching for Rin when the evil soldier starts chasing him. He ran for his life and eventually crashes into a tree and passes out. And over in the other realm, Rin is trying to escape from Roro Putri, but eventually Roro Putri catches her. She tells Rin that she has chosen her and that Rin must now help her get revenge. In return, Roro Putri will give Rin the enchanted ring, and that ring has the power to grant any wishes she desires. Roro Putri then explains her tragic story. She was the girl who fell in love with the prince. Now we know exactly what happened after the story, and now she wants her revenge against the king's spirit. According to Roro Putri, the person who is after the ring will also be on her side indirectly. And just then, Heru's prayer starts echoing through the other realm, and he was asking her to give him the ring, but instead, she scared him to hell so badly that he collapses. Now, when Heru regains consciousness, he finds Rin, who was unconscious. He also wakes up Miko, and Miko is relieved to see Rin safe. Finally, everyone returns to the campsite. Santo immediately scolds Heru and confronts him about everything he's done, but Heru tells him about a dream he had. According to him, they have to perform Roro Putri's story in this village. However, this time, Roro Putri cannot die in this play. This time, she will write her own story. If they don't do this, her curse will kill them all. Obviously, after hearing this, Santo has no choice but to agree. And then everyone gets to work, preparing for the play, hoping it will put Roro Putri's spirit to rest. That night, when the play begins, something bizarre happens. The kids, every single one of them, are already possessed, and in that possessed state, they begin acting out of story. Roro Putri takes control of Rid, while Heru narrates the story and guides the possessed students through their roles. As the story unfolds, Roro Putri appears before the king. The king has taken control of Mada, while the spirit of the prince has entered Miko. During the play, the king commands Roro Putri to leave the village, but despite that, she and the prince go ahead and get married. After their wedding, the possessed audience starts chanting eerie songs and Roro Putri and the prince dances together. However, soon news to their marriage reaches the king, who flies into a rage. Roro Putri tries to escape, but the soldiers catch her and throw her at the king's feet. The king then gives his son a dagger and a choice: either take the throne or choose his love. In the original story, the prince had unalived Roro Putri, but this time, since Roro Putri is out for revenge, she grabs the prince's hand and in a twisted demonic manner forces the dagger toward him. Possessed Rin then ends up stabbing possessed Miko right in the chest, and the moment this happens, all the spirits go insane. People start vomiting uncontrollably, their mouths spewing insects and maggots. Between this chaos, Heru steps forward and tells Roro Putri that he did what she asked and now he wants the ring. But then Roro Putri suddenly leaves Rin's body. Rin comes back to consciousness and she immediately rushes to help Miko, who was injured. Then Roro Putri appears in front of Heru and she tells him that the ring is in Rin's hand. Heru then demanded the ring from Rin, but she quickly realizes that this ring is the root of everything. So without hesitation, she takes off running straight toward a raging fire. The possessed student tried to stop her and in the end, even Heru catches up to her, but somehow Rin manages to throw the ring into the flames. The moment it lands in the fire, a huge explosion occurs and the fire instantly goes out. As soon as the gem is destroyed, all the spirits leave the students' bodies. Roro Putri appears before Rin and tells her that she made the right choice. That's exactly why Roro Putri chose her for this. According to Roro Putri, Heru will now lose his mind and believe that he actually got the ring. She then promises to Rin that she will always protect her, and the two girls share a hug before Roro Putri disappears and Rin collapses. When Rin wakes up, everything is back to normal. The spirits are gone, the kids are safe, and everyone is relieved that this nightmare is finally over. Even Kiki becomes friend with Rin, and by now everyone knows that Heru planned this entire trip just so he could steal the gem from Roro Putri, but after that night, he completely vanished. In the end, Santo blesses every kid before they leave for home, but even after returning home, Roro Putri never truly leaves Rin. She makes Rin's body her home, and we then learn that ever since 2016, Rin's friends have been bringing her back to this village every year. Even though Rin is now fine, Roro Putri still possesses her for a few days when she's in the village, and Santo performs a ritual to keep the spirit calm. And that's where the movie ends. In the post-credit scene, we see Heru, who is now completely insane. He lives deep in the jungle, truly believing that he has the ring. Now when the credits roll, we see real-life interviews of the people who experienced the real-life incident in 2016. But to this day, no one can explain how so many children in the village got possessed at the same time. So this was the recap video on the movie Forbidden Cap Mass Possession, and I hope you have liked it. If you have, then please subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. I really need your support to grow further. If you wanna watch this movie, there's a link to my Telegram channel in the description box. If that link does not work, just go to Telegram and put my names in the search bar. How it went, you can find this movie on Telegram will be revealed on the channel, so go join that. I'm mostly active on Insta, so you can follow me there as well and look into my other channel where we discuss about the mysteries of the world. And if you have some suggestions for the third channel, you can comment in this video. For now, I see you all in the next one. Till then, stay awake, cause they always see you.